Hello, everyone. My name is Moe and welcome to another episode of Income Investors. Today with me is John Whitefoot, but before we go into any details, I want you to know that anything you hear in these videos are for information and educational purposes only. Investing does come with a lot of risk. So to read more, read the description below. Over the past 1 year, stock market has been a very volatile place. And if you look into different sectors, technology sector or anything that's related to technology has done extremely poorly over the past 1 year. You've seen massive declines. I personally have seen stocks that were trading at, for example, $300 and now trading at 10 or even lower. So it's been crazy to say the least. But there's one company that John recently wrote about. It's called the Spok Holdings. They're traded on NASDAQ under symbol SPOK. And I want to bring in John into this conversation here now. John, if you want to talk, before we go into any details about what Spok does, let's talk about how the Spok stock has done over the past few months and a year.
Yeah, thanks, Mo. Spok has just been like crushing the market. As of today, the company stock is up 53% over the last 3 months, 70% over the last 6 months, and 77% over the last year. On April 18th, it hit a new record high of $12.42 per share. That's $12.42 per share, and it's still trading like just pennies off that level.
Yeah, I was actually looking at their chart, and it's just impressive how they've seen an almost vertical move recently. Now let's go a little bit about what Spok actually does.
Yeah, the share price move doesn't necessarily reflect what the company does. You'd think a move like that, they'd be like, revolutionizing some part of the world, but they're actually a healthcare communication company that provides services to hospitals in the US, Canada, Europe, Australia, the Middle East. What products, you ask? Mostly pagers. They help companies like hospitals and doctors and nurses communicate more efficiently and more effectively. In fact, they're the leading paging carrier in the US with over 815,000 pagers in operation. And they're used in more than 2,200 hospitals, sending over 100 million messages each month. This includes 18 of the 20 top all-time 10 children's hospitals named to the US News and World Report's Best Hospitals Honor Roll. So their clients are like blue chip healthcare companies around the world.
Hold on, John. 1 second. You said pager.
Yeah.
Isn't that a early 90s thing where it was a cool thing to carry around pager? Why are hospitals or healthcare facilities using pagers?
Yeah, I had a lot of friends that carried pagers in the early 90s, and that's the last time I ever heard anyone speaking about a pager. But yeah, hospitals use pagers because they are, believe it or not, the safest, most reliable way for hospitals and doctors to communicate. Of course, that's besides speaking in person. But if it has to be, any sort of distance or anything, pagers are the best. First, you only need to charge them once every week or two. Cell phones need to be charged almost daily, you'd think, if you're a doctor, because you have to have it on all the time. And they're also a lot more secure than cell phones. When people send messages on cell phones, they can often get hacked, stolen, and that's a lot of confidential information. Whereas with pagers, they only use basic text messages.
Right.
So it's impossible for confidential information to be get into the wrong hands, because you can't send that information. It's just basic stuff. So yeah, pagers are still the top way for hospitals and healthcare workers to communicate.
Very interesting. Now let's go into fun stuff. What's happening with Spok's financial? Stock price says if I just look at the stock price and nothing else, are the financials, keeping up with that stock price?
Yeah, that's not an illusion. Like a lot of times, it's not uncommon for some small tech stocks to be a pump and dump scheme where they're soaring, but the company's losing money and saddled with, millions in debt. Where Spok is the entire opposite. In the fourth quarter, revenue was down slightly, like literally like 1% to 33.25 million, but reported fourth quarter net income of 24.2 million compared to a net loss of 16.7.
So it's a turnaround over there.
Yeah, and that's in the fourth quarter. Full year total revenue came in at 134.5 million. Of that, 83% was recurring revenue. That's important. It swung to full year profitability of 21.8 million. And I think what's really important is that even though this is a smaller company, they have roughly 36 million in cash and zero debt.
Wow.
And that's not something you see a lot of tech stocks bragging about.
You don't at all. And what's interesting to me here is that, you know, in the technology space or, you know, communication related companies, you don't see a lot of companies giving out dividends. Spok Holdings actually pays out dividend, and their dividend yield is significant. So if you want to elaborate on what's happening with dividends here.
Yeah, back in February of last year, 2022, the company announced a new strategic business plan, which was to return more cash flow to investors and returning capital in the form of share buybacks and a reliable high yield dividend. And at the time, the company hiked its dividend a whopping 150% from 0.125 cents per share to 0.3125 per share. And it's maintained that payout ever since. That works out to an annual dividend of $1.25 per share, which as of today is 10.5%. And I believe the inflation rate now is below 5%. So that's more than double the inflation rate. And that's pretty significant when you consider Spok share prices are up 77% year over year. Again, a lot of companies can brag about a 10% dividend yield, but it's less interesting when the shares have gone down 40%.
Right.
Oh, and then on top of that, in 2022, they returned 25 million in share buybacks.
Oh,
so I wouldn't be surprised.
They're buying back you know, usually companies buy back shares because they think their stock is undervalued. So that they think their stock is undervalued as well. It's interesting.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if they're buying shares back right now. Now that they're up 77% and 53% over the last 3 months. But yeah, so basically the company is like profitable, revenues and net income are growing, solid dividend yield,
right,
good outlook, and strong share buyback.
Yeah, and I would assume
no debt.
Yeah, and I would assume as you know, their financials are doing well, they're going to pay their investors even more as they have been recently, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them increase their dividend payout and their share buybacks. But yeah, time will tell. Probably find out the next quarterly results, or yeah.
And John, you know what's more compelling about this company is this company is still overlooked. Wall Street is not really interested in it. I was looking at number of analysts following this company. There's literally one analyst looking at this company. Institutional holdings, less than 70% of the company is owned by institutional investors. So I think this company is still extremely overlooked and undervalued because serious investors haven't even started looking at it yet. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. John, thank you so much again for this great income opportunity. For our viewers, thank you for watching us. We'll be back again. We'll be talking about another exciting income play. If you want to know more, you can go to our website, incomeinvestors.com, and don't forget to like and subscribe our channel.